So in my experience, most golfers would say that they'd love to hit the ball a little bit further, but often feel that when they put a bit more into the swing, they lose the strike, lose the direction. So they feel they can stand there and hit a pretty consistent shot towards target. So we can see there from a club head speed of just under 85 mile an hour, ball speed at 101, carry at 136. But more alarmingly there, low point behind the ball, club travelling up and the ball launching at 23 degrees. So once you can find a fairly consistent contact with the club, one of the key things to getting more distance is to actually present less loft to the golf ball. So if you could stand there and still get that solid strike, even though I've swung slightly slower there at 83.3 mile an hour, the ball speed's jumped to 114, the carry to 161, the low point's moved 3.2 inches ahead and the club's travelled down 3.6 degrees. So I know what you're thinking, if I could swing the club slower but hit the ball further, that'd be a great thing to add to my game initially. Then if I could put the speed back in, I'm getting even more distance, but not sacrificing any control. So what was the big difference between those two swings? So, like we said, it was very much about the loft we presented. So what I will see with most club golfers at impact is that as they get back to impact, the weight's not really on that front foot. It's very 50-50, maybe even still on that back foot. The shaft lean, at best, is just bang in line with the ball, if not slightly back, which is adding loft, making the ball go more that way and less forward. Whereas with the second shot, I had much more pressure onto that left foot, much more shaft lean, definitely less loft, but also the lower point ahead of the golf ball, so the club moving down as opposed to up. Now the funny thing was, I only really changed two things there in order for me to be able to get a much better strike, keep my control, but hit the ball further. And the two key elements are, once I get to the top of my backswing, actually just slightly before the top, I'm already going to feel like I'm moving that weight onto that front foot. Now, if you're watching this video and thinking, yeah, I understand that, but as much as I do it, and I might do it great in practice swings, I don't do it on the shot. And I think the issue for a lot of golfers is, first of all, they're trying to get underneath the golf ball. So it makes sense for the brain that if you swing onto that right side, you can sit back and get underneath the ball. So what I'll see with a lot of golfers, no transfer into that lead side, low point again behind. Club speed was good, ball speed was decent there, and that got out a little bit further, but again, the ball launching really high. So what I want you to understand is tour players and the best ball strikers in the world de-loft every single club because of the low point being ahead, so the club travelling down, and that forward shaft lean. So the first thing I want you to try for me is I don't want you to focus on the ball. I want you to focus on trying to hit the ground maybe 2-3 inches after the golf ball by, like I said, as you start your backswing, as you get into the top, we're going to move that weight more onto that lead side, drive towards the target, and I could see there in my practice swing, I suddenly hit much further ahead. So that wasn't perfect, but again, 84 mile an hour, nearly 3 inches ahead, 111 ball speed, and that launch angle coming down from over 23 degrees to somewhere between 17 and 18. Now, it'll definitely take a bit of practice, and you might even find initially that putting that into the full swing is difficult. So if that's the case, start with a shorter swing. So just get the club to waist height, move forward, and touch well ahead. And you'll be amazed, even with that little swing, how there's still some decent speed, low point way ahead, launching too low for a full shot with a 7-iron, but all of a sudden you start hitting the ball as far with a half swing as you were doing with a full swing at the start. So then you just build a little bit of length into the swing. And even if to begin with the ball striking is not perfect, you're going to see low point ahead, The ball definitely launching lower, flying lower, still getting to a good height for most of you and getting the ball further out there. Now, if that's fixed it perfectly for you, you might not need to watch this next part of the video, but it might be worth watching anyway in case this creeps in. And if you are one of these golfers who, when we've spoken about that first bit, suddenly sees a much lower flight, but the ball shaping out to the right much more, the big issue for you is you've started to get exposed for not having great club face control. Now, what I mean by that is on the way down for a lot of golfers, that club face is almost looking up to the sky or certainly out ahead of them. Now, when it's there, if you continue into that shaft lean, that club face is going to be open for a right-handed golfer pointing to the right. So the only way you've been able to square it up in the past is from there, everything hangs back, the hands compensate, and you can still hit some great shots, but it does mean your timing's got to be good. And we saw at the start, we're going to hit it higher, shorter, so it's not perfect. So the extra little thing I want you to work on is on the way down, just check that point, and what we want to try and feel is that leading edge is the same as your spine angle. So you're going to do that by turning either the lead hand more down or the trail hand more on top of the golf club, and you see how that club face position changes. So again, if you can implement both of those things into your golf swing, for me it's going to make me draw the ball a little bit more, but we can see there it de-lofts it nicely, gets that ball and then ground contact, launches a little bit lower, gets the club head speed without picking up, improving the ball speed, which makes my smash factor go up and my distance go up. Now, just if anyone's unsure, and this isn't to be too technical, smash factor that we've looked on TrackMan is basically the efficiency of how we transfer energy from club head to ball. So the higher the smash factor, the more efficient you're becoming. And if you're already hitting it out the middle, you can't be much more efficient than that, but you can show more efficiency by adding less loft. So let's go a couple more of those. One more feeling nice and smooth. And that really does feel like I could hit that all day long. So I say a little bit quicker there at 85 mile an hour, but still launching just under 17 degrees, 164 carry, ball speed at 119. So you can see there, even though I'm not, let's say, trying to be quicker, because I'm also releasing the club better through the bottom, I'm actually starting to pick up a bit of club head speed without putting any more effort in. Now, obviously I'm working through the video quite quickly, ball by ball, but if you feel that you can do that and you're comfortable, by all means, as the cherry on top of the cake, try and put a little bit more speed in and maintain what we've spoken about. So I didn't feel I did it quite as well. So club head speed at 86 mile an hour, ball speed jumping up to 120, low point not quite as far ahead, launch angle still good, and carry distance at 164. So if you are somebody who feels that you've kind of maximized your distance and you're nice and accurate, but you need more, but you don't want to try and hit the ball harder, learn how to control the loft, make you more efficient at how you're going to deliver that, get more ball speed, get more distance, and just generally start enjoying your golf more than ever.